Hey guys, how you doing? Well, I'm just sitting here relaxing. I was listening to the radio, and this disaster in BC is more of a disaster than I originally understood. I'm stuck. It looks like my only option now is I have to fly. I have to leave my truck here and fly back home. Um, as you know, I even published a video of me driving out here on a beautiful sunny day. The roads were nice. Just a little bit of snow in the high elevations. And I was ready to come home on Monday or drive back. I delayed it till Tuesday, and thank God I did because Monday was the day the big slides happened. And basically, all the roads. There's not a lot of them in British Columbia, in the southern part, that connect Vancouver with the eastern part of Canada. There's like two or three routes because it's mountainous, and there's two or three passes where roads follow the valleys and can get across. Um, there's about three routes, and there's a railway. Everything's been destroyed. like not the whole road, but passes. What's happened is so much rain fell in such a short period of time, and it's not just what fell on the road; it's what fell all over the mountains and rushed down the mountains. And usually there's avalanche chutes and culverts, and the roads are engineered so that runoff. For example, every year after the winter, when the mountains fill up with snow, in the spring there's runoff. All the snow melts, and all that water has to work its way down the valleys into the river systems, and eventually flow out to the ocean. So the roads are designed to withstand some sort of runoff. But what's a little bit different this time is that we are right now in end of November, middle of November, in a high precipitation period. Because in British Columbia, the summers are typically beautiful and dry with a little bit of rain. It's the winters when you get a lot of precipitation. Well, this time of year, usually I just drove across from Alberta to BC, and it was beautiful and clear and blue. But as you crest the passes, when you get to the higher elevations, there was some snow in the higher elevations. The Coquihalla Highway is built on top of a mountain plateau, very high elevation. This time of year, usually when there's a lot of precipitation, it falls as snow, just from memory and from experience of living here for many, many years. But now it's middle of November, and we had this big dump of precipitation. And even in the highest elevations in the Coquihalla Highway, which I don't know I don't have it off the top of my head, but very high in elevation, that precipitation did not fall as snow. If it would have fallen as snow on a lot of the mountainsides, it would have just fell and stuck there and probably remained there all through the winter to slowly melt in the spring. But it all fell as water. It all fell as rain because it's been warm, even at the high elevations. And so we have a situation where a whole Rocky Mountain drainage system, a whole valley system of mountains caught all this rain. The rain all had to come down off the mountains into the valleys through the drainage system to the big rivers like the Fraser River that eventually flows to the Pacific Ocean. But there was so much precipitation, all falling as water, that it just overran all the drainage patterns that are there now. In fact, created some new, what would you call them, where the water gouges out, the water coming off a whole side of a mountain. It's all collected, it's saturated, and then starts coming down. It'll find the lowest, what would that be called? A trench or a flood? What would it be called? You know what I'm trying to explain. Like an avalanche chute. Where an avalanche starts and it doesn't flow over the high areas. It flows into the little crevices and I don't know what the word is. But some of these new flood drainage thingies, new ones were created and cut right across a major highway like the Coquihalla Highway, which is two lanes going each way, separated by a major highway. Just cut right through it and sliced right through it. Maybe I'll post some pictures on this video while I'm talking. But just such severe damage that you can't just go there now and fill it in and repave. They're going to have to go and actually do some engineering studies on the integrity of the surrounding rock, and whether they have to build a bridge or whether they have to cut into the mountain to hit a stable ground to create a detour. It's not going to be a 1 or 2 week fix. It's not even going to be a 1 or 2 month fix. It's going to, and now we're calling for more rain next week and then the winter. So there's not going to be any construction in the winter. This is going to, these highways are, some of the major damage is going to last till well into next summer, where they even can start thinking about rebuilding. So these are going to be closed for a while, and there's some places where the Trans-Canada Railway system was completely wiped out. Trains that train tracks that are basically hanging over newly formed canyons. It's just insane. So and there's going to be supply disruptions, because a lot of the goods and manufacturing that's done in the eastern part of Canada, or the grains and things that are grown in the prairie provinces, a lot of that gets put on trains and shipped west to the port in Vancouver, where it then is exported. And all those routes to Vancouver are gone, and just being here in Nanaimo right now, there's people. They're already starting to hoard. You go into the stores, there's no toilet paper. People, why is it whenever something happens like this, people decide they have to buy 48 rolls of toilet paper? Like, when faced with adversity, do humans think, oh, I'm going to need to shit a lot now, and the most important thing I should buy is toilet paper? I don't get it. But there's no toilet paper. There's no produce in the stores. People are just rushing to the store and buying up everything. It's the government's now talking about imposing some restrictions to hoarding and price gouging, and there's no answer to how these supply chains are going to be reopened. So Vancouver is on its own with respect to the rest of Canada. They're probably going to have to start shipping things through the United States and up through Washington, and just redesigning all the supply routes. There's going to be people trying to figure that out, but it's going to be chaos for a little while. So anyways, I can't drive home. I can't take my vehicle home, so I'm going to leave my vehicle here. I'm going to get on a flight and fly back. I missed it by 1 day. I was planning on driving back on Tuesday. I ended up, I couldn't, because I checked the roads and the disaster had just happened. If I started driving back on Monday, I would have been on the road when all this was happening. So I have to count myself lucky that I didn't get trapped. There was a lot of people trapped for days and days on the highway. People that were driving, and there was a mudslide in that direction, and an avalanche in that direction, and then they were caught in this piece of road with nowhere to go, and they've had to be rescued by helicopters. So anyways, guys, I'm heading back tomorrow. I've got a flight. It's cost a fortune. This trip, which was supposed to be just do a leisurely drive out, have a visit, swap vehicles, and drive back. I checked the weather before I went. The weather looked good before I went. But now they're describing, all these experts, right? That these people that want to pretend that they're so smart, they're calling it now. The experts, climatologists or whatever, are calling it a atmospheric river event. Like, as if they fucking knew. They want to act. Oh, well, this is obviously a river event. Like they knew, right? That's what they're calling it now. They didn't have any clue what an atmospheric river event was before this. They just made up some sort of a thing they want to call it now, so they seem smart. When they were designing the highways, or when they were building the Coquihalla Highway and all these highways through the mountains, nobody I know no climatologist or person that was overseeing the construction and trying to determine how to place the highway and what kind of drainage and what size culverts. No one said, "Oh, wait a minute. We must make sure that we design this road so that it can withstand a atmospheric river event." Now they didn't know what it was when they built them, but now all of a sudden that there's been a disaster, you get these guys on the news. Well, clearly this is an atmospheric river event, and I'm like, shut up. There's always an expert, right? That pretends they want to look smart, so they want to pretend they know exactly what's going on. This is an atmospheric weather event. We're going to see many more of these, I predict, and they get their time on the news. None of them had a clue that it was going to happen. But anyways. That's my little talk to you today. I'm gonna fly back. Yeah, so this leisurely drive, swap vehicles and go back, has ended up. I gotta find somewhere to store my vehicle. I've got and flights are cost a fortune now because I can only fly from Nanaimo. If I want to even drive down to Victoria, which is typically like an hour and a half to drive to Victoria. Victoria has a lot of flights and a lot of options because it's a major city. I can't even do that because the highway between where I am and Victoria it's not closed, but it's down to one lane, and it's like 30 minutes they allow southbound traffic, and then they close it, and then 30 minutes northbound traffic. And there's stories of waiting for 5 hours just to try to so nobody wants to drive me down there. So I have to fly from Nanaimo, and there's only one option. And of course, now when you go on the internet, the prices have skyrocketed. There's going to be price gouging and companies just cashing in on people's misfortune. So unfortunately, that's a situation. But I got to get back, and I'll be back, and I'll that's my story. It was a interesting adventure. I hope anyone who's been adversely affected that's living out here, I wish you all the best. I know that they've even the government's got the Army involved now, Army Corps of Engineers. They're working on just emergency measures to stop some of the flooding that's happening. There's been some dikes and some pumping stations that have been destroyed. Every day there's more news coming out of how bad this disaster is. And I read in the chat just recently some viewers from Germany that you had floods in Germany as well. And there's some viewers that left comments, it sounds a lot like what's happened in Germany. And shout out to you guys too. I hope you guys pulled through. And guys, that's it for me today. I'll be back at home, so I'll be in my basement streaming again. And everyone in BC, shout out to you guys. I hope you pulled through this, okay? I was here when it happened. I got to go home now, and I hope everything works out well for everyone that lives here. See you guys on the next one.